If you want to increase your win rate, the first thing you need to consider is taking higher probability setups. And if you can't consistently identify those setups, you're probably going to stay stuck as an unprofitable trader. And in this video, I'm going to break down how you can identify those extra high quality setups so you can increase your win rate and become profitable. And if you take this video seriously, you can actually achieve that profitability. And also, I'm just going to say this video is going to be pretty long. So if you're not planning on watching it all the way through, you can just click off right now. But if you are serious about watching it all the way to the end, then I'm just going to say that I have put a lot of hard work into this video and there's going to be so much value in this. So I'm not going to waste any more time and I'm going to get straight into the basics, and then I'll show you exactly how I identify those bad and good setups. Alright, so now that we're past the intro, if you already know this part, then you can just skip it where I start identifying the setup. But if you're still a beginner to the strategy, I'm going to explain the basics to what you're actually looking for. So the first thing you need is actually a strong push up, which actually creates your imbalances in the market and my demand zone. So the first bearish candle before the strong push up is going to be my demand zone. And as you can see, you just mark it out from the higher wick and then the lower wick of the bearish candle. After that, I need some kind of structure. So in this case, this here is my structure, and I also call that my liquidity. So what I need for my liquidity to be valid, I need it to take out its own high. As you can see, these were its highs. Now, for example, let's say it had this strong push up, okay? Price came here, created the liquidity, and then came over here, but it did not take out the high. As you can see, it made a double top, but it didn't take out the high, and then it came to my demand zone. Now, I'm just going to say this trade is already invalid, okay? It has to take out its own high. It has to take it out. That gives us like the bullish potential. So as you can see, this is not valid until this part. After it took out these highs, the trade is now valid. All I need now is price just to come back to my demand zone and then give me an entry. And as you can see over here, we had a normal supply and demand trader, took this demand zone and then failed, okay? People who don't use liquidity in front of the zones are literally like, I don't know what they're doing, but as you can see, this strategy is actually insane because these people who are trade normal supply and demand trading just get stopped out. They entered over here, all right, get stopped out. Then I use their stop losses in advantage for my insane trades. And just before coming to my demand zone, it also took out this last high and then it slowly retraced to my demand zone. And the entry on this trade is pretty simple. As you know, you do not want your price to go through the demand zone. As you can see, let's say price came down, closed, or went over here, it will be invalid. Okay, you do want price to react with the wick. You do not want price to close inside the zone or go through the zone. So keep that in mind. And also for your reaction on the trade, you need a first candle to react from the zone. Okay, if that closes bearish, you do not want to enter the trade. So for example, let's say we were in this case, you do not want to enter yet. Okay, you need to enter after you get a bullish candle. So in this case, as you can see, we had this first bullish candle and then you enter as soon as the bullish candle closes. And in this case, I had a 30 pips max stop loss and just had my take profit at the high. So yes, this strategy is pretty simple. This setup over here alone is already a plus setup. But now I just want to actually start identifying these trades, okay? First, I want to identify C setups. And the reason I'm identifying low probability setups is because you can actually see what those low probability setups are, so you can actually avoid them. And I'm just going to say 70% of identifying trades and getting a win is actually the trend, okay? The trend is the most important, especially if you're trading the higher time frame. If you're trading the 5-minute, trend doesn't really matter. But on the 30-minute time frame, which I'm trading on right now, it's extremely important. So let's say you're extremely bearish, taking a demand zone over there is stupid. But that's why I have this video, because later in this video I'm going to talk about key areas so you can actually identify when the trend is going to change, and then you can actually hit those insane risk to avoid trades like this. So let me find a C setup and I'm going to explain that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find 3 setups for each type, C, B and A plus setups. I'll break them down and explain each one pretty quickly. Once you've seen these, you'll be able to get pretty advanced at identifying high quality setups on your own. So here I have a C setup, and the reason it's a C setup is you can actually already tell the structure on this trade is not good at all. So what I'm looking for in a trade is I need a strong push up, a down push up, creating my liquidity, taking out the high as a liquidity sweep, coming down to my demand zone directly. And what it did over here is nothing like that. The structure on this trade is not clean. But there's actually two options you can use as your liquidity. So the first option is this one over here, which I don't like. It's just because it's a bit too far from your zone. It needs to be in distance, because if it's too far, you know, it doesn't really make it valid. But you can still consider this. Now your second option is actually this. Now you're probably thinking that's not valid because it didn't take out its own high. But you can also consider this small candle as your high. And as you can see, it took it out by a very small amount. Now this trade, I'm not too sure if I would actually take it live myself, because this trade is an extremely bad trade. But it always depends on the trader. This trade is still valid just because, as you can see, you have liquidity over here. And what makes this trade even better is that you were extremely bullish. Okay, that just makes this trade even better. But probably not taking this trade just because how late we're getting on a Friday night on an indice pair. And you know how it is with indices and holding them over the weekends. I'm going to find a different C setup now. Now I have another setup here. And straight off, I just want to say the trade is a C setup is because just how bullish we are. And to be fair, I actually did take this trade live myself. I took it for a break-even trade though. But the reason this trade is bad, of course, the trend. And I mean, overall, this trade isn't like the worst, but you can like tell just by looking at the trend that this trade is bad. And what I normally don't like to see is news taking out the low. And as you can see here, there was news that took out these lows. But overall, the zone is not that bad. You have a nice fair value gap right in front of it, which is extremely nice. Always what I like to see. You had, well, I think this might even be news as well. I'm not too sure. So I might have entered on news and had my just insane stop loss. Not a trade I would take right now. This was back in January. But yeah, there's not really, I mean, probably what I thought back in the day was we took out these lows, we disrespected this demand zone, and then I thought we could look for sales. That's probably what I thought at the time. But yeah, you can just tell that this trade is a C setup. Okay, I'm gonna find a new one now. And here will be the last C setup. So again, I took this trade live, and to be fair, I would take this trade live as well if we were in the old OG prime UK 100 times. Right now, UK 100 hasn't performed that great, but trust me, UK 100 back in the day was absolutely insane. And actually, this was actually the first time when it started going bad, just as soon as 2025 hit. So if I was back in like 2024, like October, I would definitely take this trade, bro. Like it would be like 99% win rate. It was basically a 99% win rate in like the winter time 2024 on UK 100. So yeah, this trade itself is not the worst, just because you have a nice level of liquidity, and what makes this even better that you have a opening gap. As you can see, an opening gap just before that demand zone, came back, filled that, extremely bullish. But yeah, what makes this trade bad, if we weren't in those conditions and we were to take this in normal conditions, then this trade is not good. As you can see, it failed to take out this high over here. Then it made a kind of a double top over here. And then I think this was news that brought it down to the zone. Nice reaction. I mean, you could basically call this like a C plus setup. It's not like a C, it's like the worst setup you've ever seen, just because, as you can see, nice level of liquidity, opening gap, but the structure that happened over here is not great. And what would make this trade a extremely good trade would be a strong push up like this, okay, opening gap, like a nice clean level of liquidity coming up here, all right, taking out this high, and then not making like something like this, but just coming slowly directly to the demand zone and having the same reaction. It will be a pretty good trade. But now I've explained all the C setups, so you would know what trades to avoid. Now let me go into the B setups. Okay, so I found a B setup, but right before that we have a C setup. I'm not going to go too in depth in this, but as you can see, another C setup here is not a good, because as you can see, we just stopped taking out lows, and then it's just well, you can just see the structure on this trade is pretty bad. But let me go to the B setup trade. As you can see, well, I didn't take this personally just because I basically just didn't see this. I kind of missed it, but I didn't like it anyways. But I did take this trade. As you can see, I took this trade here. This trade I would call like a B plus setup, but I'm not going to talk about this setup right here, so I'm going to remove that. But this is the setup over here. Now you're probably thinking again, liquidity didn't take out its own high, but you can actually consider this taking out its own high because news is not really price action in trading. So as you can see, well, one insane candle, as you can see, that just doesn't like you can't actually expect it to make something like this, like come all the way up here, come down and take that high. Like that would just look insanely ugly. So in this case, it came over here, all the way over here, and then it came here, and you can actually consider this as the high it took out. And then also it came directly to the demand zone. Before that, as you can see, if it came like this to the demand zone, kept doing like that, then top the demand zone, it will be ugly. But as you can see, before the breakout, this consolidation breakout was into our demand zone, and then as soon as it topped, it had a insane reaction from the zone. So I would call this a B setup, and overall we're actually pretty bullish. As you can see, we came into this clear area, my bad, and I mean we were strongly bearish. And then let me see if I can find any key areas that we came from. I haven't checked this before. Let's see, this could be a key area, and also these lows over here. So normally I go on the 4-hour time frame, but I just want to like explain this pretty quickly. Yeah, there's not a lot of key areas, but as we're still like, you can still consider this being pretty bullish, because as you can see, we stopped taking out lows. As you can see, we stopped taking out lows. We stopped respecting supply zones, and then we came into this clear area. So this here would be a B setup. So I have another setup over here. The small doji candle is your supply zone, and the reason this here is a B setup is, I mean, price action itself is pretty nice. If it did something like this, I made this lot of considered broke out over here and taken out this low, means that I'm actually looking for valid supply zones now. Came back here, and if it would have tapped over here, it would have been an A plus setup. But now in this case, it came back down here and then came up. Now, which made me like consider taking this, because I believe I did take this trade live as well. But as you can see, we disrespected this accuracy zone on a demand zone. As you can see here, we disrespected this demand zone, and then we came directly to the supply zone. Had a good reaction, but then barely like stopped us out. As you know, 1 pip stop loss, and then it stopped us out. As you can see, it stopped us out somewhere over here, and then it started going bullish again. But as you can see, let me actually see if we actually came from a key area. Yeah, this was one very bad thing as well, that we actually started reacting from this key area over here. Let me see if we have any key areas down over here as well. So key areas is like extremely important. So yeah, another key area here. And I probably wouldn't take this trade now. I mean, of course, every single day. I am myself as well, I'd say a beginner trader. I know a lot about trading. I've been trading for a long time, but I'm still learning. So this was like back in April, not too long ago, but of course I'm learning, and I would not take this trade at the moment. That's basically everything I have to say about this trade. And let me find my last B setup, and then I want to talk about the actual A setups, okay? That's going to be exciting. All right, so we have another B setup that I took live. We have a accuracy zone over here, where you can just draw it out as a normal zone here because it has a fair value gap. But since you don't know too in depth in that, I'm going to draw it out as a accuracy zone. And as you can see, I did take this trade live, but unfortunately I decided to close before the next. Wait, let me just mark everything up. 1 pip below the candle. I decided to close over here. I went out for break even because it was like it was pretty late in the day. It was like 6 p.m. and well, as you can see, the trade won pretty nicely. Probably yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But right now, like having to backtest a lot, I would probably like keep it running, just because it is a nice trade and insane results. recently on Chef JPY. And what makes this trade a B setup is just because how late it is in the day. And actually, yeah, this might actually be a not even a B setup. I'm not gonna lie. This is a extremely nice setup. And not A plus, but I would call it like a pretty good setup. But talking about A plus setups and a trade that made me pass my, well, I didn't pass it with this trade, but I did pass my phase one on my 50k funded account, and this trade over here, insane trade. I targeted this. I targeted, yeah, it's a weird target, but I target this liquidity over here inside this fair value gap because this is a great fair value gap to target. I targeted this, and I think I didn't have any TP1 here. Actually, I went for a flip entry. My bad. A flip entry. If you don't know how to like how these entry models work, then you can go watch my other videos about that. But what makes this trade A plus? Well, first of all, your liquidity is insane. Look how clean this is. Second of all, it disrespected this supply zone. As you can see, it had a reaction, but then disrespected it, took out the high once again, and then came directly to my demand zone, tapped the zone, and started just moving bullish right after that. Now, this was pretty late in the day. It was pretty late in the day, and it was like just 30 minutes like earlier than this one, I believe. No, yeah, it tapped at the same time. But yeah, this had just low volatility like during like when it went to the evening time. But this one just fully went up, and I decided to hold through no, this was like through the weekend. Yeah, I decided to hold this trade through the weekend. Hit an extremely nice trade. As you can see, we're also coming from this kind of a good consolidation area. Then let me check for support and resistance levels. Yeah, this is kind of a tap. This could be a tap over here. Let me see it if we find anything else. Uh, yeah, well, this month actually, what was it, March? Yeah, this March we had this was extremely clean. Okay, we had insane trades this time. As you can see, we had. I mean, I don't have them marked out just yet, but as you can see, another win over here. Then you had a win over here. But I wasn't trading the pair that time. After this period, I added the pair like straight away. You had another win over here. Then you had a win over here, but news ruined the trade, so I wouldn't take this kind of trade. But like, yeah, all these setups are here. This is like a C setup. I'd say this is A plus setup. This is an A plus setup. And I think there was one more trade, but I'm not going to search for that at the moment. Yeah, I cannot find it yet at the moment. If you can find it, then you can, yeah, just tell me. But yeah, now I'm going to talk about actual A plus setups, my favorite setups that like my just top 3 favorite setups that I've ever taken while trading supply and demand. So the first one obviously is this setup. I've shown you this so many times in my other videos, but as you can see, there's just nothing wrong with this setup. You have a clean structure, a strong push up, creating lots of imbalance in the market. You also have an imbalance here. Okay, I don't know how to draw. And then you had a extremely nice level of liquidity, like an obvious low, taking out that liquidity with strong momentum, also taking out this high. And as you can see, trend is extremely nice. We took out like all these highs out of this consolidation area. We just took out all these highs, and then we had so much bullish potential. We came directly to the demand zone, had a fake out on this normal supply and demand zone, and then came directly to my demand zone, went all this deep, and then flipped. And then I took a flip entry here. I also took this trade live, and I was in Dubai while I took this live, as you can see. And for this, I targeted, well, pretty simple targets on this. For a TP1, I targeted this high, and for a take profit 2, I targeted this high. So this was my take profit 1 and a take profit 2. As you can see, it took pretty long, but it's, yeah, this trade is insane. Well, TP1s are pretty crucial in this strategy. As you can see, I took a take profit here. I took 50% out, left the 50% left. Like, I took 50% out on TP1, left the other 50% run, went for break even after TP1 was it, and then my take profit 2 was it. And then after my take profit 2 was it, the price just reversed. Let me see if I can find some resistance on this trade as well. Yep, as you can see already, resistance over here, resistance over here, here, and yeah, I think that's already enough. I don't even need more resistance, but there's resistance over here. So yeah, this was an extremely nice setup. So I'm gonna find another A plus setup. So I have another A plus setup here. It's basically exactly the same like structure kind of thing. As you can see, strong push up, creating a lot of imbalance. This time it created liquidity twice, then took it out by strong momentum. Had a fake out on this normal supply and demand zone. Normal supply and demand traders, they got used as liquidity. Came to my zone, entered on a directional close, 30 pips max stop loss, targeted the high without a TP1 and just another clean trade. I mean, this is just insane, okay? All on one pair. But now let me just find another A plus setup. I just want to show you how insane this strategy actually is. And after you watch this video, I want you to go actually backtest this pair yourself. Backtest GBP JPY 2024 September. Like that was like one insane. Or Chef JPY March 2025. Those are like extremely good months that I've traded with. They are of course they've been of course like way better months, but those months are like the trades that I explained with. So as you can see, this setup over here that I just explained, this was on yeah, well, this was October, but as you can see, this period over here, September to October last year, it was just insane, like 30, like 20, 30, 40% months. I know it's insane. Now let me just find my last and only, not only, just my last A plus setup, and then I'll go over a quick back testing session identifying high quality setups, and then I'll end the video there. And after I've ended the video, you go back test and you test it for yourself. Now for the last trade, I want to show you these three most insane trades. All was in less than a week. You got what like let me just explain these real quick. So the first trade, as you can see just over here, supply zone, an accuracy zone, pretty clean. Also a fair value gap here. Took out the low pretty nicely, and we're also extremely bearish. And as you can see, normal entry, directional close, stop loss 1 pip above. Now I don't have my like 1 pip above the zone. Like when it's like this, as you can see, when my supply zone or like for example demand zone, doesn't matter, if my stop loss is gonna be outside the zone, I don't normally have it outside the zone. But when I used to trade, then I have it. Then I had this rule that I keep it outside the zone as well. So in this case, it actually came useful, like for the first time. And then for this, I just targeted this low. I'm not going to go into take profit levels right now because I just want to explain them really quick. As you can see, next trade, like nothing wrong to say about that. As you can see, came down with a strong bearish momentum, had some structure, took out the low, came directly to the demand zone, I mean supply zone, then had a break of candle, 1 pip stop loss, and hit another insane trade, same take profit. And now the third trade you have over here, as you can see, another break of candle trade, stop loss at the wick over here, just 1 pip stop loss, clean, liquidity taking out its own low. Again, we're pretty bearish, and you have the same take profit level. And now for the last trade, this trade here, this is just insane. Like, what can you say wrong about this? It disrespected this demand zone, as you can see. It's had nice level of liquidity, took out the liquidity, came to the zone, break of candle, and a, yeah, insane strategy, okay? But now a overview or like a summary of like taking A plus setups. So right now I'm just gonna talk. I'm not gonna show anything. So a summary is you need a nice level of liquidity, like at least 2 candles in that direction. So let's say you're taking the demand zone, you need 2 candles, like 2 bearish candles to your zone, like in the direction of your zone, and then taking out its own high with clean structure, not with the wick, but taking out the own low with the actual body, like the body candle. Then you need to have, well, you don't need to, but it's very important that you have a fair value gap, like right next to the zone. Then also having support and resistance, as you can see over here. For example, this trade, as you can see, you have a extremely nice support level. This tap over here. Maybe I can find more support support and resistance levels over here, over here, over here. Well, it's yeah, it's insane. That's what you need: support and resistance to make this trade better, and this clean structure. But then the most important is actually the trends. If you're not in trends, then you would not want to take trades. And if you can actually identify key levels are basically, well, support and resistance. Let's, for example, this here is a key level, this and this. Once it's up that level, it's called like a key level, and that's how you can identify reverses in trends. But if you're not so experienced, you don't even actually need that. You can just trade by looking at the trends right now. But if you want to come like extremely experienced, then that's something you should probably learn. But as you know, trends, liquidity, clean structure, fair value gaps, support and resistance. That's basically all you need to trade A plus setups. So let me go over a quick like back testing session, and I'll tell you exactly what type of setup this is, CB or A plus setup. So let's just back test UBJPY September. Like I said, it was extremely good month, but to be fair, I don't remember anything like any of these trades. I don't remember how it plays out, so I'm just gonna continue and let's see if we actually find. Yeah, oh shit. Yeah, straight off the bat, I found a setup, but I skipped it a bit too fast. I wasn't expecting a setup this fast. But as you can see, it's just a simple accuracy zone. Uh, what else about this trade? Yeah, yeah, A plus setup. A plus setup. Let me see if it actually reacted from the supply zone. Yeah, it barely didn't. So this here is an A plus setup. Why? It's because it has great level of liquidity. It's just a clean structured trade, and it took out all these highs just before coming to my demand zone and creating that demand zone. But I don't even know if this wins, so let me just set my everything up. 1 pip below over here. I think I had CP1 over here, and for my take profit 2, I can be targeting this high over here. So let me just target this high, and let me go for a maximum 1 to 10 and have my take profit just at, let's go for a 1 to 5. What is a 1 to 5 on this trade? Over here, that's my take profit 1, and my take profit 2 is a 1 to 10. All right, so it was a break-even trade. I hit my 1 to 5 for a take profit 1, and yeah, let me check. Well, I don't have time to do a deep analysis on each trade. This could have been a good target as well, but I'm not gonna say anything right now. Let's just keep playing it out. See. Oh shit, there was also a trade over here, but this was in September. This was August. This is like a B C setup, maybe even a B setup. Actually, no, this is a C setup here. This is an A plus setup here. All right, I think we have another setup which I actually just lost that I just saw. This I definitely don't remember. This I don't think I even took this trade. It doesn't. It looks okay. There's nothing wrong with this trade. So yeah, this could be another potential trade. The reaction of this is, I don't like this reaction at all. I don't like when it doesn't have a lower wick, but in this case, it doesn't really make a big difference. Max 30 pips stop loss. Well, yeah, this trade already lost, so let me just check if there's anything bad about this trade. Well, I'm not going to go too in depth into them. Well, there's no fair value gap here. There's resistance. Yeah, there's no resistance as well. So yeah, this is like a B setup, potentially a C setup, but just looking how much bullish potential we have, I'm gonna say it's a B setup. All right, well, I'm just a little bit too fast for this, but we had another supply zone over here, and amazing reaction at first, good level of liquidity, but for this setup, I'm going to have to go for a B setup. I mean, it's the structure on the zone itself is just not the best. As you can see, if it did something like this, like came over here, made this demand zone, came down, liquidity came down, came to the zone, it would be great. But since it came down again, failed to take out the low, which makes this a B setup, but which makes me actually take this trade is extremely important that it took out this low over here. But as you can see, let me check for resistance. Some small resistance here, nothing really much. So yeah, this is more like a B setup, B minus setup. Break of extremely clean break of candle entry over here, and stop loss just above, just 30 pips max stop loss here again. And for this target, maybe just at the low, potentially. Let's see if we can get any. I mean, we could actually potentially go all the way down over here, or even down over here, that gap fill. But I think this could be a good target for a 1 to 12. Have a take profit 1, maybe in the middle, just over here. This could be a good take profit level. It's a TP1 level. So let's see what happens here. I this trade I do remember, actually. I ain't gonna lie, this trade I do remember. So yeah, there's another setup here, which again I accidentally played out, but yeah, let me just mark it out. The zone over here and 30 pips max stop loss. Yeah, this is a very tight. Yeah, this is too tight. So I'm gonna go 60 pips max stop loss on this, just because 30 pips is a little bit too tiny. And yeah, just same take profit level, just over here, 1 to 5. Well, since it's a low risk reward, I'm not gonna have a take profit 1. So, well, for both of these trades, take profit was hit. Uh, Pretty clean. I mean, insanely clean. If there's any setups I missed, just let me know, guys. And also, if you know how to get rid of this replay mode logo, then just comment down below, because I don't know how to get rid of this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I missed another setup, as you can see over here. Then you had another, yeah, this is a pretty clean, pretty okay trade. As you can see, you had a nice fake out on the one candle liquidity. As you can see right here, this is pretty important. Well, it doesn't have to have a fake out. There you go. What, 30 pips max stop loss. Target this, probably just at the low here. Still get a good risk reward. Let me check if there's potential higher targets. Yeah, probably this gap fill, but I think it's the same anyways. Yeah, it's the same. So yeah, I'm gonna cap it at a 1 to 5. Yep, another 5%. Now we also have this setup here. This probably is a C setup, just because we already won off this one, and it's the middle zone. Middle zones, we have a nice demand zone here, then we have a middle zone, and then we have a first zone. So if this one won and then it comes back to the middle zone, that's not something I would look for. But just for the sake of this video, I'm going to take this trade. Actually, this could be a potential flip entry as well. Have my stop loss over here, and just targets for this, just at this low, not at the wick, because the wick is massive. So I'm going to go just at this low. Okay, insane risk to reward. I'm just going to go for a 1 to 10. Have my take profit 1 at this here. Oh, well, at least my take profit 1 was it. I don't remember this trade. There's another take profit 1 here, and of course break even. I go tight break evens. Like if it hits like a 1 to 3, then I go break even. I mean, it depends on the volatility in the markets. But now I have this setup up here. If I do remember right, I think it tapped that zone as well. Maybe. Yeah, I think yeah, it just did. As you can see, 3 trades in a row. Just a break of candle here and have 19.4. This setup, I think this setup might actually be an A plus setup. If it didn't take out these lows to the left, I would not consider this trade at all. But it's, as you can see, it came back down, took out these lows, reacted from this fair value. But we have so much like imbalances down over here to fill. So this could just be such like extremely good potential, and also just a nice level of demand zone. But this is not A plus, maybe an A setup. The zone is part of a straight move down. But targets for this trade, I have just at the low again over here, and take profit 1 just at this low. Let me just delete this. Let me check if it has any resistant levels. Fair value gap in front of the trade, which is kind of invalidated, but still kind of valid. It's not a lot of resistance here. Still good setup though. I ain't gonna lie. Still kind of like as you can see, we have so much bearish potential right now. Could also even target lower, but at the moment I'm not gonna target this low. So it's a 1 to 13. Yeah, bro, this is just insane, bro. Holy shit. Another win, a win, win, TP1 hit, win, 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 win. Another win. Oh, no, this was a loss, my bad. This was a loss. So let's just continue a little bit more and then I'll finish the video. All right, we had another setup, but as you can see, this trade was invalidated. Let me just get this out the way so you can actually see what's going on. Yeah, we had another setup supply zone here, but it got closed inside the zone, so that's invalid now. Yeah, this supply up here potentially get tapped, maybe. I think it got tapped. Let me check. Yeah, that's tapped. But actually, let me check the distance of this liquidity. Yeah, liquidity is a bit too far. I have to say, it respected this low. Yeah, that's probably not something I would look for. Let's see if there's actually wins or not. Oh yeah, exactly. Just lost. And potentially now looking for demand zones. All right, so we had, oh, a bit too quick. We had this set up here again. And we have this here. Oh, this is just a extremely simple trade. So 40 point something like that. Just at the high over here. Let me just set this correctly. There you go. Okay, whatever. 5.4. Could go for a, yeah, let's just target. You could target this gap fill. That could be extremely. I'm going to go for a 1 to 10 on this trade and have a take profit 1 at this high. So it's a 1 to 5. Let me go for a 1 to 5. I think this is about 1 to 5, and then on 1 to 10 for take profit 2. Pretty simple. This could be it. This is an A plus setup. Actually, this is a B setup, just because we're coming off a supply zone, as you can see here. So that's just extremely bad. Doesn't mean I don't want to take the trade. Liquidity is great. Took out the high. Nice fair value gap right in front of the zone. Yeah, it's a nice trade, but I wouldn't call it A plus. Maybe like an A or a B plus. Yeah, I wasn't expecting something like that, but yeah, take both TP1 and TP2 here. All right, I'm gonna go for one more trade, but guys, this is just insane. All right, this is insane. I'm gonna go for one more trade and then I'll finish the video. All right, we had this setup here, but that's not a kind of setup I would look for. It's just liquidity is just not the best. All right, well, again, I went in a bit too fast, but we had a setup here. This is a pretty clean setup. Just target here, have a stop loss, 30 pips max stop loss. And yeah, I mean, sorry that I went too fast, but this trade is a B setup. Liquidity is just, the liquidity is just not great. And the high was taken out by one candle is all. But overall, we have so much bullish potential. We are in this clear space. We took out the high. Well, we failed to take out this high, but then that means we can actually like potentially go take that out that high. I will target this gap fill. Not a lot of risk to reward. Let me just max it out at a 1 to 4. And yeah, that's a pretty okay trade. Let me see if we can find a better targets for this. Wait, I'm not gonna. I mean, we could potentially target like somewhere these highs or this high over here. But since like I don't wanna spoil you guys with this insane results. To be fair, it's pretty stupid what I'm saying, but it's true. But I don't wanna spoil anyone. So just a 1 to 4 risk to reward. Shit. Told you, bro. The most insane month. As you can see, another W, bro. You know what? I'm gonna go for another win. Let me see if I get another win out of this month. So another setup here. As you can see, this you have a fake out on the one candle liquidity. This is a B plus setup. It's pretty. It's just it's like it's nothing really bad to say about this trade. As you can see, 30 like 0.9, just clean like that. Here you just target this high. Well, actually here you can actually just target the overall high for a 125. I'll go for a 125 here, but again could target these highs, like very potential. But as you can see, another clean trade. I'm just gonna finish the month and then I'll finish. Let me see if this actually wins. It could come down any moment. But yeah, one kind of liquidity with a fake out, nice demand zone, B set up, had a fair value gap right in the middle of the trade, a nice level of resistance over here. The only bad thing about this trade is we started to like not take out highs, and then it's just a small structured trade. But overall, you can just call this a pretty good trade. Like the resistance we have on this trade is insane. As you can see, all this is resistance. So yeah, maybe this might even be an A setup. Yeah, A setup on this trade, not A plus, but A setup. Let's see if this actually wins. And another W, bro. It's insane. I think there was another win here, but I'm not too sure if I remember. Yep, there was another win over here. As you can see, another W, bro. Holy shit. This is just insane. Have another win over here. Let me just quickly explain this trade as well. If I'm more at this point. As you can see, targets for this, yeah, this is just not very high target trade. A 1 to 7. Let's target that. Maximum 1 to 7 here. Another take profit here. And all this is just in 1 month. As you can see, September. And the month is about to finish. Okay, there was another trade. Another fucking trade here. Oh my days. As you can see, another trade over here. Then you enter over here as a flip entry and have your stop loss 1 pip below. For targets for this, let me just find some targets. Could put, yeah, I was just about to call this out. The liquidity over here, there isn't like any better targets. You could go for the gap fill over here, but since like this liquidity is right in front of this like fair value gap, it's just a perfect target. And as you can see, I think this perfectly tapped. Yeah, it's perfectly tapped as well, just before that insane knees drop, and another 1 to 10, and this like no TP1s at this point. Another 1 to 10. This is just insane. Let me just quickly finish up the month. Okay, so I finished up the month, and guys, you can just see how insane this is. Well, I mean, if you want to learn more about strategy, I have a Discord server. It's free, so join that. Wait, before you actually click off this video, about key levels again, as you can see, this here is a key level. This tapped the same point, and then it started reversing. So key levels are really important. As you can see, it's cyclical, support, and resistance as well. I use them on my demand zones, or like supply and demand zones. So that's what key areas are. Yeah, stay focused, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next video, bro.